bring forward a surah. Subhanallah. You know, the Arabs had never heard this word being used this way before. Quran used for its, what we call chapters, you really can't call it chapters, because Allah decided to call it something nothing has ever been called before, and that is what? Surah. It's a proprietary term and we have to respect it. But when you dig into this word, you find something remarkable. This is the challenge of the Quran even to the Arabs. Allah did something with Arabic that the Arabs who were so proud of their Arabic had never done. They had never done it. And the word surah is an example of it. Let me tell you a little bit about the word surah. The word surah comes from the Arabic word sur. Sur means the ancient outside walls of a city. They're giant, giant walls, and you only have certain gates you can come in from. What was the purpose of those walls? The purpose of those walls was to protect the city and to give limited access. You have to come to those cities with approval. You can't just enter into those cities. Okay? Now those walls were made unusually what? High. Why? Why were they made so high? Because you don't want anybody to be able to scale them, and these walls were made unusually thick. So nobody can what? Dig through them. فَمَسْتَطَاعُوا أَنْ يَظْهَرُوهُ وَمَسْتَطَاعُوا لَهُ نَقْبًا. That's the idea of actually a sur, is this large outside wall of a city. Who used to build those walls back in the day? Did one owner of one store or one house build the wall for the entire city? Who used to build it? The kings. Kings used to build those walls. In other words, that is not the property of the people, that is the property of the king. As soon as you use the word sur, you're thinking about a king who put this together. You understand? When you think about a surah, immediately your mind goes to which king? Which king? You understand? Now the second thing, the Arabs didn't have it. Because the Arabs didn't really have the kinds of cities you want to protect. And nobody's interested in attacking their elaborate village. So where did they see a sur? They saw them with the Romans, they saw them with the Persians. They used to travel and do trade and see these massive, gigantic walls. When does a king decide, the kings in their territory, you have villages, you have, cities. They don't put a wall on everything, they only put a wall on high-value cities. Don't they? The high-value places. So now you know that whatever is inside a sur is of high value. And it's worth protecting with a lot of investment by the king. So it not only, number one, it reminds you of a king. Number two, it reminds you of value. Number three, it reminds the Arabs that it's not from around here. The use of the word surah, because the surah is not from around there. It came from a king far away. It came from a king far away. Then the idea of the size of the surah, the sur, was that you can't scale it and you can't dig through it. Just like a surah of the Quran, you can't overcome it. You could try as best you want, you won't be able to overcome it. It's impenetrable. Then if somebody does try to attack, imagine that city with the outside wall, if somebody does try to attack that wall or scale that wall, are they attacking one member of that city, or are they attacking the king himself? An attack on a surah, a criticism of a surah, an attempt to mount over the surah is an offense against Allah Himself. All of this is just because He used the word surah so far. And then, above and beyond all of this, if you think about a wall that, let's say a king decides, this city is worth protecting. I think we need to put a sur around it. Is it a one-day project? No. And when he starts this project, they have to build a foundation. Then they put giant bricks and bricks and bricks, and this is years and years and years before this whole thing is built, yes? So it goes from the bottom up. Look at the language of the Quran. فَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَىٰ عَبْدِنَا فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ. If you're in doubt about what we have sent down, from whatever we've sent down on our slaves, bring a surah like it. Because any surah you try to build is from the ground up. And the surah Allah built is from the sky down. And when it's from the sky down, there's no end of it. No matter how high you climb, you can't get on top of it. Subhanallah. The perfection of the kalam of Allah, just in the word surah. Now bring a surah like it. Let's see you produce. When we translate this as, if you're enslaved about what we've sent upon our servant, bring a chapter like unto it. I'm like, Aki, chapter? This is a surah, man. This has never happened in the history of humanity before. This kind of language. And then Allah says, min mithlihi. Instead of saying suratin mithlihi. He says, Suratin mim mithli. Why don't you bring a surah remotely, even some a little bit, 1% like it. Give me something close to it. فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِّثْلِهِ وَادْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ. And then bring your witnesses. A witness, back in the day, used to be considered an expert. But if you look at the tasweer fanni in the ayah, the imagery that's depicted in an ayah, when you build this massive wall, people are going to be witnessing it. And then you built this Lego wall, and they're going to be like, yeah, that one. You understand? وَادْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Bring your witnesses besides Allah. And those that are lesser than Allah, whoever you believe in, if in fact you're telling the truth. Inshallah.